in a week's time. We thought, given the fact that he has been on parliamentary committees, and this was have series. Now we have a new partner with UNICEF. Uh, yeah, UNICEF and Youth for Water. We're going to have a series of discussions on climate change, specifically climate change, water, sanitation, hygiene, environment, which we'll be taking to. So the question hour series continues with different topics every month. At the same time, we will have this specific theme of climate change, water, sanitation, hygiene. YouTube and Instagram also. And remain on YouTube. Last episode also, I'll share the link. You can see the YouTube video for the discussion that happened. Similarly for this one, but Sir has come from Delhi.
are in the position where we decide that we will shift away from fossil fuels, and therefore we thought about national freedom and contributions. But India has taken a stand, and that is my personal stand. I have always held that net zero is net positive. If you do things to achieve net zero, if you're trying to have a green pathway for economic growth, and in a sustainable manner to achieve net zero, which is what India is also trying by this particular by adopting renewable energy sources by various measures, energy conservation measures, different transportation vehicles. But this net zero is ultimately going to be net positive, and that is what I have been holding. I probably have been very open of this because it is going to affect positively society. And I said positively means it will again positively impact youth, children, and the poor. This is the background why I am giving is important because if you really want to contribute to lessen the impact of climate change on these people, that is the youth, the children, and the poor, then any effort that you are making at an individual level is actually going to contribute to elevate their position. And therefore, we must make that effort. Having said so, that includes not using fossil fuel-based transport, using cycles, bicycles. They say eat less, consume only when it is necessary. Recycle. But as I said, recycle comes later. Reduce, reuse, repair, and then recycle. All these have been told to you, may have read. I'm just repeating it. But the concern relating to if governments and societies and industries do not show similar kind of concern, is your contribution going to be significant? But who said that your contribution is only limited to your personal consumption pattern or personal energy, environmentally sustainable pattern? Your contribution is to ensure or to make sure through activism to prevent the industries, the big industries, the big projects that are coming up, where you think or also think that there will be the pathway is not a green pathway, there will be a better pathway. Having said so, I'm also careful in suggesting that many of our knowledge systems currently on climate change are inadequate. We do not know where is the tipping point. We do not really know what is irreversible, what can be reversed. We really also do not know whether the changes that is going to happen are going to be permanent or not going to be permanent. So therefore, when we say that if you are constructing this project, if you are setting up this industry, certain things are obvious because there's air pollution, there is water pollution, the methods are available, scientific tools are available for measurement of pollution in each of these sectors, and data is also available to suggest how much is sustainable and how much is not sustainable. But there are large areas in which such data is not available, has not been collected. We're going sometimes traditional wisdom, which is not really based on the data, may be better in predicting the adverse effect. So in the absence of data, many of our activities of, let us say, actively dissuading an industry from setting up a plant there or a project coming up may not also be right. And that is where the problem comes, because ultimately, when you are not, your assertion is not backed by data, the other side has some amount of data, or in the absence of accurate data, some inaccurate data, express their argument that no, this is not going to affect the environment. So I think a lot of studies are required to be done, a lot of research and development. That's again another place where you can really So the two areas in which one is to prevent such large scale, let's say, you give the example of Amazon deforestation. So not just you, everyone who are opposing this. Of course, the might of the governments and might of the industries, multinationals, sometimes are so huge that it cannot be easily contained. But then this movement, just because of one or two cases, we cannot stop, because if we do not stop this process, you can imagine this. If a particular industry was supposed to come up after deforesting 1,000 acres of land, and because of your intervention, this 1,000 acres gets reduced to 500 acres. You have achieved. You have achieved. Similarly, if you are ensuring that if you're going to a hotel for your food, and you ask this question, how is the West being treated? How is the effluent being treated? If all of us go to, I've been in Kerala with the principal accountant here in Kerala. Kerala is famous for all these touristic spots and the resorts. But most of them bring water straight into the Arabian Sea. I have done since they are here, they know that I have done a review because it's a comprehensive evaluation of violation of environmental norms by hotels and restaurants and big resort owners and industries in Kerala. Big report. I left this report with a this notion, this theme at the household level would be the key to not only reduce the factors that give rise to adverse climate change, but also to adapt and to put in mitigation measures. adaptation will have to happen because as coastal erosion now recently, I think 5 days or 6 days back, what is the
Success.
um, one of the chapters, me and one got sent from Canada, we put together on human environment bubble systems. So there we were saying that some of the modeling is itself not yet done. The data points are not everything. But then with that, move to the next one.
Thank you, sir, for a very broad overview of the climate crisis. But yes, I think we all got the answer. There's no escaping not acting. So we cannot, I think it's very common to pass the buck that they are more responsible. for any problem for that matter. In fact, this series we started because we want young people to become active citizens, not to be just passively waiting for others to act.
No, that's you said very correctly. Even if we don't act, we are going to face the consequence.
Exactly.
So better we act.
And it's very important. Another point that Sir said, that we internalize, we introspect. What our carbon footprints are. So that we can try and reduce. Okay, maybe we cannot do away with air conditioning. Maybe we can reduce the use. Maybe we can turn the temperature a little higher or whatever. That way. So I hope you will excuse us for not having this session in an air conditioned setting. So I know it's very hot and humid. But given that, sir, you already answered this question more or less in terms of what young people can do. But many people here, for example, Purna, are you there? No. Purva. Yeah. No, Purna had a question. This is Gitanjali. Is Gitanjali here? No. Okay. Jayasmita is not here. Shivangi, Sandeep Pradhan. Many people have this question of what young people can do at an individual level to mitigate climate change. I mean, some things you mentioned, but if briefly you would like to add anything, what, you said about the kind of problems and all, but directly at an action level, you mentioned, some of the things, but if you could just elaborate.
At a theoretical level, I'd say reduce consumerism.
The whole consumption culture.
And no one would be happy with that. Because your GDP is equal to consumption plus investment plus I plus G plus X minus. So if you reduce your consumption, then your GDP will come down. So countries and the governments want that you should consume as much as possible. But that is where the root cause of the problem. And nobody wants to address this. I always say this, that the basis of neoclassical economic model of calculating all this economic growth in terms of GDP being equal to consumption plus investment plus government expenditure plus X minus X, 4, 5, is probably also contributing to this because consumption becomes important, production becomes important. The more you consume, the more you produce, and then the markets have to function. So a market-based solution to climate change is what is currently being thought of. I am not completely agreeing with it. I think we have to, when I say, this internalize at the household level, this actually lifestyle changes. And that's what India's contribution to this entire this concept. India's traditional scriptures and practices have always propagated the idea of not wasting, not wasting food, not overusing something, not consuming something much more than what is required, reusing it, recycling it. At every level, every human activity was based on this. But a market-based approach was that you keep on consuming, we keep on imposing a fine on you, or a fee on you, or a tax on you, we call it carbon tax or whatever climate tax, and keep on collecting that money, and then have the gratification of telling that now I'm distributing it again for the climate change that you offer. Now, this is a completely economist way of looking at climate change. And that is where the problem is. Climate change is not just an economist problem. Example of human migration I gave, it will be a sociologist problem, anthropologist problem. It will affect every discipline. So when you say that, that's why I said at an ideological level, consumerism has to decrease. But look at the big brands in the world. If you go to Paris or you go to London, all of us are beholden by buying this branded stuff. Now, many of these branded projects are actually manufactured by decimating the Amazon or maybe some other systems. We have already seen human existence is probably going to be affected. Are three, and number one, he said inequity in society. Now, inequity is economic inequity is referring to. I myself choose to broaden it to say inequity in not only income and wealth, but gender, culture, many of those. Inequities means divides, and they create problems. The way of our economic modeling or our production systems, markets, is that it actually accentuates this inequity. Um, and history is testimony to this. The second thing, the existential crisis, one is inequity. Second, he says is climate change. Coming from economists. So therefore, in our practice of production, land, labor, capital, knowledge, management ability, I think environment should be a key component. effect of things keep on in multilateralism, where everybody realizes that it has to contribute to a clean pathway. And I see that even though we talk about the responsibility of those who have already spoiled the environment and become the largest economies in the world, what is their contribution? Now, I keep saying this in larger, bigger forums, that those companies, they come to India to sell their product, not really with the idea of saving the environment. The idea is basically that this is the correct narrative, and we are pushing this narrative by developing market-based products. Market sometimes creates the problem. And in this case, I see that market-based economic model is also contributing to this. But then this is the correct thinking, unless a cataclysmic
many times we hire. So we face the problem of balancing between what we need and what the nature needs, or the society needs, or the climate needs. So how to maintain a balance between the needs of
But what one knows, however, that, and that is why this is the point which I want to try. If the governments of the world are saying that we must achieve net zero by XYZ years, India says we'll do it faster, earlier. That's because net zero is net positive. So if you think that all the action that I am doing is not to reach that balance point, which I do not know, but it will be actually positive for me, then I'll keep on adopting that or changing my behavior, changing this process. And that is what has to happen. Governments will also have to do this. The developmental imperative, which is very much there, because the poorest people of the world are staying in areas which will be affected the most by climate crisis, global warming. And therefore, we cannot just leave them in the lurch. We have to bring development to them in a green path, under a green pathway. Now that is possible. It is not that it is not possible. But the movement or the move towards that, the transition towards that, is not as fast as should be happening, is what I say. Some people might think that we are going in the right path. I feel that we must move faster. But all of them agree on the point that they have to move. And that's where all your efforts should be. Instead of searching for the point where development can balance sustainability, the effort has to be now that we have to move in the direction of sustainable development in terms of environment right from now. And as I said, since environmental systems are not independent, isolated systems, but there are dependent systems with environment, or environment actually pervades every other system, like the food system, the water system, the air system, the atmosphere. So we have to be cognizant. Using, reusing, and recycling. The point relating to mining, not just in Orissa, mining, wherever mining wells. One has seen the adverse impact. Some industries have done. So responsible industrialization is what will bring sustainability, and that is what government regulations are driving at. They have to be implemented with that kind of a theme. The theme should not be just the matter of observing the form and leaving the substance away. This is what happens in government regulations quite often, because officers who are implementing, they really don't know why they are doing. The fact is that if the society on a broader scale, on a larger scale, becomes completely aware of this, then even the implementation of laws, whether in mining or whether in logging or whether in anything that you do, would become better. So it is not just industries who are trying to become better, should be to approach to see that if you follow this path, it will not just net zero, but will become net zero. Additional value addition, and in the process also additional contribution.
Vaibhav, you there? Yeah. Can you quickly ask your specific question about the relaxation of environmental impact assessment during lockdown?
Yeah, so I am Vaibhav from Aditya University, Bangalore. So, recently during lockdown, government has come up with new environment impact assessment, and they introduced some norms in it. So, how do you look at it, and how this relaxing norm going to affect our next environment affecting journey?
Yeah, so I don't know. I wrote a piece on this in the New Indian Express during the lockdown when this particular EI notification, the latest 2020, it came in at that time. I have written a piece on that, simplifying, following the principle. They are saying that we are following the principle of polluters pay, but I had written that article that pollutant pay. Now that is consumerism act. That's what is happening. If you pollute and pay, and that will come into the development cycle by way of roads or something. But my point is, don't pollute. That is what we have to be driving. So I'm not supportive of the EIA completely. There are certain points on which my personal views were expressed in that article. You can have a look at that. Even in the parliament and in the, I'm a member of the parliamentary parliamentary consultative committee in forest, environment and climate change. So we have meetings where the minister is also there always. So this is where discussed many MPs have expressed concern over the dilution of EIA norms. But if I was on the other side, I'd have to think from their side. What we perceive as a negative clause which will lead to increased carbon footprint is obviously no one would support it. Like, for example, if someone would say that dry up Chilka Lake and will construct something over there, it will not happen, right? Now, government says on the current basis, on the basis of current discourse, current knowledge base, that if you destroy forest in X place, you recreate the forest in Y place, and then this place gets de-reserved, you can set up your industry. After my today's discussion, I might lose some of my industry friends, but my point is whether we have enough data to suggest or to indicate conclusively that when you transplant this forest from X to Y, there is no change on the environment. Because there are food systems, there are insects, there are birds, there are other things which are involved in that particular area. If you do not recreate the same thing in the other area, even if you created the whole problem becomes because we are trying to measure everything, mitigate everything, compensate everything in terms of money. But what climate change crisis will bring in is changes that cannot be counted in money. That is the problem. So when you say that EIA notification, so many climate action, wetland conservation, everything is happening, and therefore the industry can also grow simultaneously with the in a sustainable manner, keeping the need of environmental protection in mind. I'm not denying this case. I'm saying yes, it is possible, but I think there needs to be better ways and better pathways which have not been explored. And this has happened because of the absence of sufficient amount of data. Current cases are mostly episodic. Something has happened somewhere and it's a case study, as I gave you the example of RLC. But can any scientist in the world currently say that the Caspian Sea or the XYZ Sea will become the RLC in another 15 years or 10 years or 12 years or 30 years? No, that data is not there. So I think a lot of data has to come in for modeling to take place. The variables involved to calculate the impact of climate change in all its proportions are a little too many. Some of it probably may not have been identified. So my answer to your question is, yes, I think the dilution would probably lead to greater environmental degradation. The government feels, written answers they have given, that it is not going to happen. It has gone to courts. Courts also are held based on the data available that it is not going to happen. So, unless you have better data, you cannot compel somebody to change the mindset. But once you have better data, I have a feeling that because everyone gets affected, no one will be alone by putting on air conditioning in the room and sit there when people outside are dying or maybe food system is not existing. He cannot remain there without food. We have seen the impact. We have seen what happened during the lockdown in a limited scale. The impact we have seen in the lockdown, the better effects on climate that happened because of stoppage of transportation and many of the human activities.
I think we are moving from individual action to government action, and there are quite a few questions. We are already 1 hour done, 1 hour more to go. Initially, we had thought, I've already told them that. There are quite a few questions. Can we just quickly have this set of questions and then we can have Sir address all of them together? Maybe we begin with Sojan, your question on the Odisha government.
So I had asked what exactly, like, my base question was, what is the Odisha government doing to tackle climate change right now? This India right now is suffering with a huge impact because of climate change. So the example that you gave, that the resettling of the colony, is Odisha government by any chance doing something where youth can be included in, like helping them to take better decisions on climate change? Or like, can we expect that we can see some changes where youth will be included some way or the other, considering climate change and the steps that Odisha government is going to take?
In fact, to add to that, Nirala, I would like to know how the government plans, and she does not specify whether it's Odisha or India, both. Government plans to actively involve and empower youth in combating climate change, and what measures are being taken to integrate sustainable practices into youth-led initiatives and economic development. The other questions on government growth, Santosh Srinivas, can we quickly have your questions on, you had asked multiple questions, but right now, the question on Paris Agreement.
As we all know, India has a commitment in the Paris Agreement to reduce its carbon emission. What steps the government has been taking to reduce it? And as far as
to existing legislation to strengthen the protection of forests and biodiversity, and what legislative or policy measures are being explored to ensure that the environment is adequately safeguarded. So I think two parts to the question. One is government engaging youth, and two in general government factors.
I'll pose a counter question. If the government doesn't do anything, then what do we do? Will the youth keep quiet? So I think we have to understand that this is not just a government problem, and government will have to do. No one will be immune from the adverse impacts of climate. Neither you nor the government, so-called government. Government is an abstract identity. It still is individuals. The government has put in a number of measures. I can't detail it right now, it will take a lot of time. you can just go to the parliamentary website, go to Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha website, type the search keys available. You just put in the search key, the queries are available. You can put in the key, whatever question you're asking. There will be thousands of questions and the government's answer would be there. We realize that if the rich countries don't do anything, we will not be immune from impact. So we will have to do it. And that is the pathway that we are following. Besides following that pathway, you would be surprised to know that anytime when an industry comes, I know this is a personal anecdote I must share. One particular industrialist, big industrialist, the extractive industrialist came and met Honorable CM for that they were interested in setting up the industry here. It will give employment, it will give many things, it will meet the aspirational values of many of our youth and the environment. So this is the kind of commitment that is there, I think, broadly with everyone at the top levels of governments around the world. But the point is, while that concern should be there, while that research and knowledge base has to improve, while data has to improve, time is also to take action on the ground. And this action should be the action which you can do first yourself, that is internalize yourself, you improve it. And then you make the community do it. So build community resilience on this. The youth, the United Nations has already involved separately. There's a youth parliament. I think youth clubs have been given some status in the UN UNEP and in the United Nations Environment Program and in the UNFCCC. The details are already available. I'm aware of the fact that already it has been recognized. NGOs who are working on climate change, they have been given this status. But getting this status, airing your point of view, being vocal about it is important, but can't end there. It has to be by decisive action at our own levels. And when I say at our own levels, not at only individual level, at government level, at industry level. Now there are some industries, how does an industry grow? Industry needs to take clearances from government before it is built. After they getting clearances, they start the industry. There are certain protocols to be followed for reducing pollution XYZ as per the requirement. But why should the industry be stopping at that? Why should it be trying to improve its processes to do better? Now, what does the carbon trading does? The carbon trading does, I don't know whether you read my article on decarbonization of industry, which I read in Financial Express. And I went and told the minister about it. I said the carbon trading architecture which we have borrowed from abroad only. Now this is a completely market-based mechanism and basically it works well. Well, what happens on industry, if it cannot meet its carbon emission reduction targets, then it can buy a carbon certificate from another industry which has met its standards and is doing better. Now, if this process continues, when the market failure takes place, if this process continues, this man, if he is rich, will continue to buy this carbon certificate. So when all around people are adopting measures to have a green industrial production, this particular industry has become a carbon hotspot. Because it has done in itself nothing. It followed the market mechanism of buying of the certificate. So when I written that in that article, and when I met the minister, he said, yes, this is the point. And I think they're going to bring in now a new rule that you can buy only certificates to the extent of only 20%. You have to make your own effort of 80%. And then another point which I had written over there in that article is about community. Communities might, like villages. Villages may adopt practices by which they become net carbon, carbon zero, but it becomes, they gain credit. They become carbon negative. So they should be, currently in the carbon trading, this is not allowed. Communities are nothing. Buildings, apartments, everything is there, but communities not. If a sarpanch, if a sarpanch wants to do better in his village, he should be encouraged to do it and sell that credit to another village. Sell that carbon credit to another village, which might follow it subsequently and use that money for improvement of these measures in his own village even more. These are the 2 points I made in that article. So the community's participation, and when I say community, let's say youth community, is very important. They have to be promoted. I think this pollution a little bit here. I have a little bit of pollen grain pollution, pollen grain allergy. So fine. So this is the point which I'm trying to say, that the youth, the government's role is there. Government encouraging youth to participate. It does all kinds of activities for participate to make people aware about the adverse effect of climate change. But the youth on their own have a big responsibility towards not only society but towards themselves, because they are a generation which are going to face the adverse effects. And their contribution, one is to adopt it themselves by better lifestyle, all those things that I spoke about, and also to educate the community about it, so that the community itself becomes a force and becomes a force to educate or to inform the society better about the adverse effects. Community resilience has to come at, just as we have done in disaster management of the natural disasters. This has to happen in the case of climate change itself. If global warming, or let's say erosion of sea coast is taking place, community itself has to decide what is the mitigation measure, what kind of things it has to do. But community's capacity has to be improved by government. The capacity in terms of knowledge, in terms of technology, that only given by government. So everybody has a synergetic role to address the issue of climate change. And I'll just transition to the other set of questions. From that question, the mass awareness. And this is where the problem is, that mass awareness is, I think, a role which has to be discharged by the youth of this world, not just of this country. And the youth of this country have have a bigger role because India is going to face the adverse effects of climate change the most. Not just in terms of the heat oven that it becomes, but also submersion of land on the coast. We have a huge coastline. And because of that, migrations that might take place. Again, University of Chicago, I have written about it and I've written about it. It says that it decreases by 5 years, 10 years in different PM levels. Now that research has come out now. But we've been talking about adverse effects of pollution. Now when this causal effect relationship, when this causal relationships can get established, which will not happen without data. Data has to be there. Data has to be captured. When these causal relationships can be established, then people take it seriously. So when data says that, if I stay in Delhi and reduce my life by 5 years, I do something about it. But that was missing. That is still missing. We have to do this work. I have asked this question many times when I was also in Chicago, that the increase in pollution effluents that are released to the water bodies, the increase in the pollution levels in rivers would lead to loss of biodiversity to this extent. Is there any study done? It is no. It is only recently that monitors have been. It's already happening in the US. The Namami Ganga project, I was there in one committee asking 8 questions to the project director, the secretary of the department on Clean Ganga. Then it is only now they have got sensors which will collect data on a 24-hour basis. Otherwise, what would happen? It will be decided in the morning. They will go at 8 o'clock, take out the take the water sample and check. So when the inspection team comes, the hoteliers know, so they will stop sending influence to that river at that time, or water body at that point. They will take the sample and say everything is good. Then they will come at 12 o'clock. They will come at evening and they will take. That is what was the method. Now US has developed this kind of sensors, and the Indian has done it. He only addressed us. So these sensors would be they would be put on the board, and that board would be there on the river 24 hours. It will be collecting data for 24-hour basis. What is the pollution level? So these are the things that is even happening now. We've been talking about it, but this technology evolution to address this issue, data points to model, they're happening now. So a lot of work requires to be done, and this is where the youth have to do in increasing this knowledge base. And by increasing this knowledge base, establishing this causal relationships, they will be able to convince the society and the community the adverse impacts of climate. And that is why. So this awareness only by speaking, only by quantifying may not really help much, because the immediate impact is not seen. But the immediate, for example, children dying, I asked a question. I said that air pollution, is it causing any impact on the mental health of people? Because if someone is constantly ill, it might impact constantly. No study has been done. The reply is like that. So a lot of work is there, and that's where we have to do.
Yes, I just come to that. That's right. The data points definitely help. For instance, we often use one statistics about how every second there's a football field size of a rainforest valley. So I think this addresses the question. Dilip, are you here? Dilip, Mishra, Afreen, Srinivas. I think environmental education, how do you create awareness among individuals, make them want to take action was a common concern. You want to add something?
Sir, namaste. My name is Amar Patnaik. Currently, I am in the final year BTech.
in city promotion. Also, I'm a founder of a startup. We create clean energy solution for rural areas, or you can say rural villages. So my question is that, as you said, regarding the rural communities and their contribution. So the recent report that 20% of India's population who are living in the rural areas are still using the age-old chula, the chuli, or the match. And even after a lot of intervention by the government, like pushing these cylinders and all, due to the financial condition, as I said, that they do not have the financial equity, or they are not as good financially as us, they cannot able to change from using those solar mushrooms into the. So how do you think their approach should be that we can solve this grassroots problem? That we have everything, we have the elections, but they do not have any of those features.
This is the only question. You asked some other question.
There was a lot of question about environmental education, but I think this is a little different. So maybe if you want to answer.
Okay, so I'll just answer this by saying this, that so this is an implementation issue. And they say the implementation issue is an issue in any governance model. So we'll have to address it. Better implementation requires better appreciation of the problem by both the consumer who is going to use it and the person who is trying to get the government offices themselves. But the other question here is that the equity issue, the economic inequity. Economic inequity forcing people to not change or adapt to a better green path. So here, you imagine the situation. The village households who is using the smoke firewoods or whatever chula, they are the one who are suffering the most because of the air pollution. So you see, their economic inequality has resulted in this situation, and that is why when I opened this entire discussion, I said that it is the poor who will suffer the maximum of our impact of climate change. How would you change that condition? Now the government is giving to Ujjwala scheme cylinders, but if your cylinders are so highly priced, how they would, and already an economically deprived family, how can you afford it? So in order to make it affordable, what does government do? Government has to bring in or put in subsidy. So if government puts in subsidy, government is not suffering something which is an entity outside the system. Government is yours and mine. We have voted certain people to rule us. There is a budget, just as household budget has constraints. Just as that household is unable to pay for the cylinder because it is expensive, because its resources are less. Government also has this problem, its resources are less. It cannot pay for it. If it has to subsidize, that money has to be raised either by way of taxes or by way of loan. How many of us are willing to take that fee? If it increases taxes, the consumer starts shouting. If it borrows loans, it creates intergenerational inequity, it is a loan for the future against the youth. So that balance is to be done. If the cylinders were given to them completely at an affordable price, then I'm sure they would have adopted. This is where the question on a national level comes. But when the rich countries are saying poor countries adapt to climate resilient agriculture, climate resilient food system, everything, they are saying it only, but where is the money? That is why it is called just transition. The transition has to be just, and the rich countries have a bigger responsibility for this compared to the poorer countries. But poorer countries still have to suffer because of the adverse impact, and therefore must have to act in their own way within the limited resources, and that's what we are doing. That is the broad picture.
Going back to the point of environmental education that we were discussing, a quick response on what steps. So there are multiple questions, but on the same line, what steps are taken of having Nilakanta, is he there? Okay. Of having either in the university level or in schools and colleges for environmental education.
I think university level is too late. I do not know whether I mentioned this. So when I went to this Basti, it is a Basti which is next to Kalinga Stadium on the National Highway. So when I went to that Basti, there was an exhibition which was being on display by children of class 8, 9, 10. And most of it was on the theme of climate change, environment, air pollution, water pollution. What they thought, what they know, whatever. You can't imagine the amount of knowledge that they had acquired at that level. I didn't have that during my school days. I was so impressed. And it was in the Basti. So it's already happening in the school level. But I think more important than introducing it in the school level, where people study a subject to score marks, or if there are no marks, then they study for the fun of it. The fact is, environment is something in which the proportion of theoretical knowledge as well as practical knowledge has to be maintained. What I mean to say is that there has to be a lot of practical knowledge there, practical exposure there. The students should be able to see the adversity. The students' method of pedagogy is very important. If you remember, I think there was this picture during the first wave or after the first wave, when there was a hard lockdown in most parts of the world, that you could see dolphins coming and playing in, I think, Venice or somewhere, which was not there before because of pollution of the boats. And then you see the current scenario. This kind of, feeling for the environment or the adverse impact has to be taught to children. Besides the theoretical, ideological training that is required. But our pedagogy is also influenced by the market, by the current paradigm of economic thinking, which makes you think that this is the way to grow. I'm not saying this is going to remain. This is already being challenged. This will a new model of economic growth which factors in environment will come in. It is already coming in, but it will probably come in when more data points come in. So the education of the children, of the college students at the university level has to be there, which is probably there, but the practical component has to be more. If we can prove, or they can see that the temperature inside a thick forest is a degree. What are the changes that took place over a period of these many years, resulting in this situation? Is something that has to be first, that those case studies has to be created, that knowledge base has to be created, and then this has to be imparted. And this is where I think the scope for environmental education is high, but environmental research is enormous. Because environmental research doesn't confine itself only to environment, as I said, because it affects all of this.
A popular area of concern has been something that you touched on, and which is the impact on vulnerable populations. As you mentioned, the first instance of climate refugees being resettled, but there is of course the question of climate justice, which Akankya Amar Patnaik is there. was a very specific question. I'll come to that
I
later.
think it's more like you solicit the climate change. Most of the questions. So only one question.
Coming to that. Coming to that. So something very quick on and also on adaptation. I think Abhishek has a question on that, and Nitin also has a question on particularly agriculture. Resilience and adaptation. So something like climate adaptation and resilience in agriculture. There's a lot of questions on it.
So climate adaptation is so all this while I was talking about reduction, how to prevent, how to put in mitigation measures. But I have also said that we are bound to face this challenge, and therefore we have to be prepared to adapt ourselves to this change. Now, the adaptation measures would not really be confined only to settlements, human settlement, that is taking your house from here and setting up another house over there, or building new houses which are climate resilient to that particular climate disaster resilient infrastructure. Whether it is power sector, power cable lines, or whether it is the house that you are staying, or whether the energies that you are using. But what is important is that it's not just settlement. Linked with it would be the, I've been harping on it literally, is the adaptation required in food systems. Because if certain fertile areas turn desert, desertification of fertile land takes place, then certain crops that you that were growing over there would not be, you will not get those crops there anymore. So that leads to non-availability of food. There could be famines. There could be water surface areas suddenly facing droughts. And certain area which is probably a desert will face floods. Now all these things will happen, and therefore adaptation will have to address all these areas and not just settlement. Settlement is important, settlement is important, but other subsystems or link systems will be affected. Now, what we are currently doing as for adaptation is, at the national level, we are doing is it's a multi-pronged kind of approach to adaptation, building the just resilient or climate resilient infrastructure, and that infrastructure includes roads, bridges, all these kind of things. But mostly, and coming from the food system is agriculture. So how to make agriculture climate resilient by using those kind of seeds, those kind of practices, those kind of fertilizers, or not use fertilizers. That's very important. And so that work is also going on. So it is growing improved varieties of climate resilient, less water consuming, crop, seeds, or having better irrigation systems. In several countries abroad, they use less water for growing more. So whether you can use drip irrigation, whether you can use different kind of irrigation systems to make efficient use of water, that adaptation measure is also happening. The adaptation measures is happening in the buildings, of government buildings and private buildings, whether they are green, they have to be certified to be green, whether they are using energy and their architecture is in such a manner that it is the best possible green way of construction. That is a thing that is happening. Adaptation measures, some countries people might believe like, if let's say India, we can say heat oven. Do you think that we can give air conditioner in everyone's house? Where is the energy going to come from? And if the energy comes from, let's say, the renewable sources, what is the kind of emission that is going to happen? Yes. So this is the solution typically comes from when I was in Chicago. This is the kind of solution was also coming. But these are market-based solutions. This is not going to work in India or work in most countries. So the adaptation and that adaptation would also be required to change your food habits. Maybe you move away from wheat to dairy products, because if there are if the savanna kind of forests, they are not there. The woodlands are not there. Fodder is not available. Then the dairy would die. So you change your food patterns to more plant-based food. Just yesterday, I was in Delhi addressing the second plant-based food summit being held in Delhi, where people are saying that you move away from the dairy products and the wheat products and go to a plant-based protein-based system, like soya-based systems and chickpea-based systems. So a lot of effort is already taking place. Adaptation measures are being taken up both at the government level, at the private level, and many startups. But yesterday when I was there, there were all startups. There were about 1,000 startups working in the field of moving away from wheat and dairy-based products to plant-based products. And good work was being done.
We have half an hour left. Just to clarify something that we clear at the beginning, we have limited time, so I'm going basically by the concerns which have been shared by multiple people. If there's one area on which, so JP, there will be a podcast, right? So we can pick it up. So very quickly, 2 areas in terms of specifics. I think the specific questions can easily be taken up in the podcast as well. But there are a lot of questions about mobility, about electric vehicles, about are they better? The problem of charging stations, the problem of the higher price. So I think many of them, Amrit Mishra, I don't know if Amrit is here, Bismay, Ritik Chotrai, Anu, Nandini Goel, all of them have questions. Good answer.
Yeah. No, so this is a debate. Many people are saying that if you want to run these electric vehicles from electricity which is produced by using fossil fuels, what's the use of it? And then what's the use of having electric vehicles at a individual level, unless you can have huge electric buses which can carry load, that is freight traffic can move on electric buses or electric vehicles. So so this is the debate around the world. I was recently last year I was in Dresden, headquarters of the electric vehicle manufacturing unit of Volkswagen in Germany, and this was the concern that was expressed, that if you are taking freight, heavy load in a truck, and this has to travel, let's say 100, 200 kilometers, then the size of the battery to give that energy would be half of that bus or half of that truck. So that's where technology has to improve. Again, I would suggest that you can Google and find out from a parliamentary intervention on the question. I asked Nitin Gadkari on the point that what is now happening is battery technology is being improved. Better, technology is being adopted so that they become less heavy, easily transportable. More charging stations are being given at lesser intervals. But my question was different. What is the research being done to make the process of charging faster? There was no answer. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it is not a question of someone having this knowledge already and is not being implemented. The concern relating to climate crisis has happened seriously since the Kyoto Protocol. Even before that, but I'm saying that is the most decisive recognition that they said that there is a problem that we have to address, which is a very short period of time. And a lot of research is still lacking, a lot of data is not there, causal effects have not been established. And the prices of, let's say, electric vehicles, they're coming down. I'm sure they will come down as research improves and people are mandated, incentives are already being given. But the real intervention in mobility would happen when this energy, electric energy, is generated from non. They have set up plants of ethanol from rice husk or from different products, ethanol plants. But there are no buyers. Why the Indian Oil or the BPCL or the SPCL, the only three oil manufacturers, or the Reliance private sector, is not buying that much? Because the engines of the machine, current cars cannot take a blending beyond 5% or 10%. So, you know, a knee-jerk kind of reaction is not going to work. So we incentivize one side, but we forgot that the ignition system of our current vehicles has to undergo a change to take a blending beyond 50%. And this is happening all across. Now the government has realized this. It is in talk with the Automobile Association of India and trying to address this issue. But this would happen with the newer vehicles. What happens to the older vehicles? So this transition is not that you just wave your magic wand and it is going to happen. So it is a difficult transition and difficult for everyone. Difficult for everyone. And therefore all of us have to cooperate to address this.
There is a related question by young Purna Mishra here about hydrogen fuel. Is that a sustainable fuel for automobiles?
I wish I knew the answer very definitely to say that yes, this is going to work. Again, research is going on. People think that hydrogen fuel is the answer, is the solution. And there are different kinds of hydrogen fuel. One is green hydrogen, another one is a grey hydrogen, another one is a black hydrogen. So green hydrogen is the one which is generated from renewable sources, from wind energy or from solar energy. And the black is somewhere in between. The black is the one from the same fossil fuel. So, you know, all these are innovations taking place. I'm sure the intellect of the world who's grappling with this issue will find a solution. It will probably take time. We did find a solution to COVID vaccine, which is manufactured in a period of 8-9 months, whereas it used to take earlier 5-6 years. And just now the WHO has declared registered it as a matter of concern, COVID-19, as a virus of concern. So similarly, in this field also, a lot of research is happening. Every fuel that can drive or propel an engine is actually feasible. The question now, for how long, what is the distance, how to store that energy. Now in hydropower sector, now storage systems have come where you lift the water and then again break it down. New innovation that has happened. So with each passing day, new things are happening. Hydrogen is touted to be the future fuel. Let's wait and see how it improves the things. The other day again, I was in a money control meeting with Mr. Gatkari. He drives around in a Innova, which is hydrogen fuel mixed. This is okay. This is good for telling the people that this is an alternative. But whether that alternative will change the face of mobility or transportation sector so as to take it in a path of completely green mobility path is one that I don't know. I don't think he also knows. Any scientist will get about. There can only be assertions, and those assertions will probably become a truism if sufficient data and sufficient proof comes that they actually did.
You mentioned wind energy now. and there have been quite a few questions on the question of renewable energy. There's Nitin here, Ajitesh Singh, Sasmita, all have been asking about what steps
We need to have, I think, these kind of sessions, I think, for another, 15 such sessions. But please go ahead.
Yeah. No. I mean, they're just asking about really strongly that we should explore renewable energy much more. And who are thinking that why don't we use windmills in the coastal towns of Odisha? So, your response on the question of renewable energy.
Our versatility and ingenuity is something that comes into play. Currently, it is probably not there. I'll give you an example. Many people think, Odisha, we get 42 degrees temperature, very hot. But mind you, all the solar generation plants are in the western part of India, largely. Why? Because it is not just that sun is there and therefore you can generate solar energy. It depends on the angle at which the rays fall on those plates, solar panels. And therefore, there is something called a conversion factor, CUF. So what happens is that if you are, and you don't get energy, sun energy for 24 hours, so it's only for that limited period. So if only after using a system for 100 hours, you are able to generate energy only for 19 or 20 hours. That's the current trend. And that's happening in the western part. So you have to think that will this be adequate? So you only increase, you not, there are certain things which you can't change about nature. But then innovations are taking place. And this is the urge to live. Survival instinct has now caught up, actually, and everybody is trying to do it. I go to Morocco recently, and I saw over there that those, you have those solar lamps on your street, solar street lamps. We have this solar plates over there which capture the sun rays and then generate energy and it goes. Now they have a system again from Germany, I believe, which doesn't have a plate. It is completely a round structure. It's like a board. What it does, there's an entire board itself, so that angle is independent. It collects sunlight from 360 degrees. And what it does, it collects, suppose someone goes and suppose you forget to switch off the light in this place, it will also collect this whatever light energy. And that innovation is taking place. And I'm sure it is going to happen. Everyone is contributing its bit. And that has to happen. So renewable energy sources, solar, wind, are the major ones. We need to be quite a bit on this. For green hydrogen, the world is looking at India because since we're already building our renewable energy, so the green hydrogen will come from renewable energy only. And we already have not we have not yet exploited our coastal line so far. I must share this small anecdote with you that I got a German investor who wanted to invest in Odisha's eastern coast by having these windmills visiting parts. So I was asking whether it is possible to also factor in the fact that we have cyclones almost every at least 4 or 5 times or 3 or 4 times in a year. So your entire farm will get uprooted. He says no, we can factor in this. So people are experimenting, and people are trying to find out new ways. Now, if wind energy can come from there, water is already available, so you will have green hydrogen, really green hydrogen. And so the world is looking at India for green hydrogen. If green hydrogen is going to be the solution, and a permanent solution for as an adaptation measure to address climate change, then India will probably be again the leader there, just as it is the leader now in solar.
So, when do you have to leave? When do you have to leave? It's 7:12. Okay. So we have many more questions. I'll just tell you what kind of questions we have, but we'll pick that up in the podcast. We have questions, very broad questions relating to, the collaboration between center and state needed to tackle this.